Hello and welcome to UT Health San Antonio Leadership Podcast, the show that profiles individuals in leadership positions at UT Health San Antonio. I'm your host, Celeste Rodriguez, and today we're going to talk about personal growth, success, and doing everything it takes to make lives better. My guest today is Chris Green, Assistant Vice President of Sponsored Programs with UT Health San Antonio. Chris has been a part of the UT family for 32 years and received his Bachelor's of Business Administration in Accounting from Baylor University. Join me for a one-on-one conversation with Chris Green as we talk about his path to leadership and the vision and values that shaped his career. Please welcome Chris Green. All right, Mr. Chris Green, thank you so much for being here on our leadership podcast today. I feel like I know you. I feel like I've worked with you since I started 10 years ago. But I want everyone else to know you as well. Share with our listeners, what do you do here at UT Health? What does the Assistant Vice President of Sponsored Programs do at UT Health San Antonio?
Well, I have many hats here. Our office handles cradle to grave, grants and contracts for the institution, institutionally wide. That's pre-award, post-award, and all sponsored agreements that we process. And so it's a vast variety of activities, which is normally broken up in 3 different departments at most universities.
Really?
Yes. However, we're a one-stop shop for the faculty, and so they don't have to worry about getting pushed from one office to another.
Mm-hmm. And you have pre-award, you have post-award, and then you have a whole bunch of in-between as well, right?
Correct.
So tell me about your team. Who helps you manage all of this? How many people do you have?
We have 42 employees right now. Valerie Hutchinson is the assistant director of our office, and she's been in the office now around 15 years, and so she's well versed in a lot of the activities and really is my go-to person to handle the operations of the office, why I attend meetings and bigger global activities for leadership and faculty across campus.
Mm-hmm. So 42 people broken down into the pre and the post award, right? And also agreements. I know your office manages all of the kind of agreements that have to go through there too. Tell me, are you a native Texan? Are you from here?
Yes, I was born and raised here in San Antonio, and I went to Robert E. Lee High School.
Oh, okay. And then from there you went to Baylor, right?
I did. I graduated from Baylor in 1994.
A Baylor Bear. And then you made it all the way back down here at UT Health. Did you always want to work at UT Health? Did you know about UT Health growing up?
Well, my mom worked at UT Health, and she retired from the university about 15 years ago. She worked here for a long time.
Really? What did your mom do?
She was a billing clerk originally, billing clerk for the Department of Pathology. Then she eventually transferred and worked under Mercedes Garcia in the bursar's office. Mm-hmm. And then also my grandfather did retirement planning with the faculty and staff of the Health Science Center since its inception until his passing in 2004. And I have pictures of him with the original dean before we were a Health Science Center, giving gift checks to the student scholarship fund. And so I'm well-versed at the Health Science Center. And also my stepmother worked here 12 years in the Office of Human Resources.
Oh, so you have deep roots at
Yes.
UT Health. There was no kind of going around that. Once they got you, they got you. And you know what's so funny? I'm also here because of a family member. They're like, hey, Celeste, I think you can do this job. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't have any experience. They're like, yeah, it'll work out. And I was like, I'll give it a year. And it's been 10 years. So growing up here in San Antonio, can you tell me about what side of town you grew up on? Tell me about where you grew up.
Yeah, I over basically on Northwest Military area, highway area. Mm-hmm. Originally we were in Castle Hills Forest, and then eventually my parents divorced, and then I moved to Castle Hills, closer to the Robert E. Lee High School. I lived with my grandparents all throughout high school, so I would just kind of move around from house to house to my mom's, to my dad's, to my grandparents. And so it worked out real well, and it was good for me.
Good. And tell me about your first job. Now, this is your first paid job, because I know family members sometimes can make us work for free. But what was your first paid job? Tell me about your first role.
It was actually here at the Health Science Center in May 1991. I started as a billing clerk 1. Sally Reister hired me in anesthesiology. Mm-hmm. And she was the assistant to the chair, and I worked for Angie Martinez, who is 93 years old and still living, and lives right down not too far from the campus. And she was my first supervisor here, and still a great inspiration for me as I continue on. She really set the tone for my career here at the Health Science Center. And I learned so much, even being a billing clerk one. It was the pathway and the stepping stone to when I graduated and started in the Office of Accounting in 1995.
And that's really, I mean, what I appreciate your experience the most, because you've grown within the institution from billing clerk to accountant. How did you get into research? How did you get into Office of Sponsored Programs?
Basically, a basketball game with Jerry Long.
Jerry Long's to blame for this one?
Pretty much. We were playing basketball after work one day, and I was an accountant too, and I asked him if he still had that accountant 3 position over in grants. We were called grants management back before 2005. And he said, sure did, but I'm about ready to fill it. Why, you interested? I said, yep, I sure am. He says, well, you better put your application in soon. So I did, and he hired me just on the sole fact that I had the accounting experience. He was really looking for someone that understood the fund groups and all the different transfers, what's allowable, what's not allowable, and also the background on my ability to retrieve data from the system at the time, which was a lot harder back when we were using System 1032.
Yeah, I'm sure you were actually like having to mine for information constantly. And this is one question, you know, I know you've been in Office of Sponsored Programs for a while, but after graduating high school, did you know what you wanted to do professionally? Was accounting something you always wanted to do, and did that ever change?
No, I thought I was going to be a financial planner and follow my grandfather's footsteps. That was the original goal, really, until I was an accountant 3. Once I became an accountant 3 in the grants office, things just, my family, it was a family business, and my uncle and my father really took over the business, and there really wasn't room for me per se. And so I just decided to make the Health Science Center a long-time career at that point.
Okay, great. And regarding your current role, did you have a mentor, somebody that kind of guided you along the way?
Oh, lots. I mean, I just think of some real fast. Murray Howard was a great inspiration. Jerry Long, Jane Youngers.
Oh, yeah,
I worked for Jane from basically 1998 to 2014 upon her retirement. And she taught me a lot of things. And so each one of them individuals had different skill sets. And so I was able to learn from Jane writing, from Jerry queries, and Murray pretty much everything else. He could do anything he wanted to in terms of work. He was a master. So those are just some that come to mind, but there have been many.
And do you look for anything in particular when you're looking for a mentor, or when you've had a mentor in the past? Because I feel like a lot of people do not currently take advantage of having a mentor. It's like they just kind of forget. You don't get anywhere alone, right?
I agree. I think people don't even consider having a mentor.
No.
But it takes initiative. It takes effort. I mean, you just can't expect someone to come to you and say, I'm going to be your mentor.
Right.
You don't even have to personally say, I want you to be my mentor. You can just learn from them and ask them questions and get their advice. And so it's a lot of initiative. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and I think kind of just having the guts to say, hey, I may not be an expert in this one particular thing. And for me, you remember Mary Rose. She was kind of my mentor when
yes,
it came
of
to
course.
all things.
Of course. Mary Rose was one of the first person I supervised, actually, in a manager role. Absolutely. She was a great person.
If I remember the story, I think she worked for Office of Sponsored Programs, and then Department of Medicine kind of stole her for a little bit for the rest of it.
Yeah, she came from a Texas A&M system, and then she came to us. Then she went to UTSA. I hired her back, and then eventually medicine.
Well, I appreciate you hiring her back, because she was definitely a huge asset.
It was a good asset for us.
And it's like, Mary, I don't know anything about research. Let me just, pull your brain. So she definitely served as a mentor for me during her time before she retired. I think it was 2 years ago. And Chris, tell me, what is your greatest passion, both professional and personal?
I guess to please people. You know, I'm a pleaser. I like to make people happy. I like to make people just whatever they need to fulfill whatever question they may have or activity they need our office to do. And so basically, I would say it's trying to please people, make them happy.
I would say that's a really hard job in OSP, because I feel like y'all are always, y'all are getting hit constantly on the pre-award, on the post-award side, on, any new initiatives that you guys have. How do you manage that?
Well, I think it takes a lot of patience to manage that. Just in the past 3 years, we've seen just the patience of people have decreased since COVID. So it's really tough to keep up because people are expecting Amazon same-day delivery for emails and everything else. So it's more complicated than what it was 5 years ago. It's a whole different set of rules.
Yeah. And I think coming from municipal government in the past, I always do remind people we're not built for speed. You know, we're built for checks and balances, and I always have to remind people here just the expectation. It's not going to get done overnight. If we were, a quick moving machine, there's so many things that we have to go through. So I appreciate your office, and I know it takes a lot of patience to deal with everything that you guys have to deal with. So thank you so much. From the other side of it, the pre and the post award. What about personal? Is being a people pleaser also personal?
Yeah. I would say yes. I just like making people happy, and I don't like drama, so just to put a smile on someone's face is always rewarding to me.
Yeah. And do you have any hobbies outside of?
Oh yes, I love dirt biking. I go to different tracks.
Dirt biking.
Yes,
That seems very dangerous.
It can be. I was in the hospital 3 weeks back in 2015 and missed basically a month of work.
What? I need the story, Chris.
Broke my ribs.
Okay, so
punctured my lung. That was one of many.
Accountant, billing clerk, accountant, assistant vice president of office sponsored programs, dirt biker on the other side.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about this experience because I need to know. Like, was it an accident?
It was a very simple jump. I mean, the ones that usually do you in are the more simple jumps. The bad crashes usually you kind of sometimes get out of them without any major issues, but. It just something. My front tire slipped from when I landed, and I just landed right onto my chest and punctured my lung, and then I got an infection.
Punctured your lung.
Yeah, then I got an infection. Yeah, I got a staph infection, and it was just all downhill from there. But that was just one of many crashes. I've broken probably 12 or 13 bones doing it.
Really? I would never guess. I would have never known this about you, Chris.
Yeah.
Never. Well, and good thing if you get an infection or something, at least you know people around here that can help you.
Yeah, I actually got UHS. I wasn't able to get transported them that day, so BAMC, they took care of me really well over there, and even Dr. Hepburn came over and visit, and him being a general, I got the whole. Once they heard Dr. Hepburn was coming over to see me, I was getting general. Everything was just plush. They were treating me so well.
I mean, as much as we've harassed you, and I say we collectively, because I know Department of Medicine harasses you probably the most out of some of the bigger departments.
It's such a huge department. I mean, it's going to have a lot of activities. So yeah, but you know what, Shan has done a great job of running medicine. So has Dr. Reeves, and I actually enjoy working with the Department of Medicine. The faculty are great.
Oh yeah.
The staff is great. It's really a pleasure, really.
Well, and when it comes to breaking bones or having infections, it helps to know people. At least you know that it'll come back around. We're going to help you out whenever you need it, Chris, and for your dirt biking career, So how would you describe your leadership style?
Well, I'm trying to let the managers, as we have grown, we've grown about 125% over the past 3 or 4 years here at Sponsored Program Activities.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to do everything like I was when we were a smaller shop. So I'm learning to basically let the managers run the office, let them make decisions, let them do the activities, because there's just no way that I can change every nut and bolt anymore in the office.
Right. So it's kind of putting in that trust into your managers to kind of do what they do. And how do you encourage growth for your managers?
Well, I encourage them to, one, I like them to try to come up with their own ideas, try to execute those ideas, and if they fail, they're going to fail. I tell them that they're going to have failures sometimes, and not to worry about that. It's just part of growing. And I think that eases them up a little bit, because I can go through my career, and there's been times where I failed, but I became better professionally due to it. And it's just a learning experience. I mean, we don't know everything. This sponsored programs, you're always learning.
Yeah, I'm sure there's always different ways of doing things maybe. And even, I know you're working on initiatives now for like new processes and new programs. But what's the most important leadership lesson you've learned, and how has it proven to be invaluable?
The most important one I've learned is, one, I cannot know everything, and two, not to have any issues with admitting that I made a mistake. I think that all managers, good managers, will admit when they have made a mistake and will tell that to their staff. And I've done that, where they've said, "Hey, Chris, this is going to happen." I'm like, "No, it's not going to happen." And it comes back and it happened. So I came back and says, "Y'all were right. I was wrong." And so that's, I think, to me, very important.
Yeah, and
Leadership
I think,
trait.
Oh, definitely. And I think if we're not kind of constantly swinging, my son's playing baseball right now, right? And it's like you have to swing the bat. You got to keep swinging. And then eventually,
That's correct. The best shooters or best batters always just keep batting until they, get out of the slump.
Exactly.
Yep.
And eventually, the odds will be in your favor, right?
Yep.
So, what project in your career are you most proud of?
I've had a lot of projects. The last one that I've been part of, I was able to collect $11.5 million for the institution, provider relief funding, which was lost revenue due to COVID-19 pandemic when we had to basically shut everything down.
$11.5 million?
Yes, $11.5 million, in which we were originally denied. Resubmitted the application, had to work with all the schools to get their patient loss revenue information, put it into the format that is acceptable by the federal government. HRSA was the one running the program. And they came back and they denied our first claim, resubmit the claim, provided the backup, and called them about 40 times during this whole process, which took a year and a half to do.
Wow.
But one day come along, one of the big first payments that came in was over $10 million. And so it was very rewarding. And it was really one of the biggest triumphs in my career. At least the latest. I've had many, but that's the recent one.
Yeah, if I find a check for like $500, I'm happy, Chris.
Yeah.
But I mean, how am I going to compare to this $11.5 million? And so these resources were able to kind of come back to the institution and be used for.
Correct. I mean, we lost lots more than that due to COVID-19. It's just that we were able to recover that during the time period that they passed all these different bills. Congress did, and one of the bills was to fund this provider relief.
Wow, that's
program.
amazing. Yeah, I hope you get a presidential award for that one for sure. Tell me about a challenging time, either professionally or personally, and how did you overcome it? What's your go-to method?
Yeah, I mean, the recent challenging time is for our office. We've grown so much.
Yes.
And there's been so many organizational changes.
Yep.
It's been hard to keep up. And the institution is just growing leaps and bounds. And so whenever you grow leaps and bounds, you have to change a lot of process and the procedures in which we're doing. And it just takes time. And, the last 2 years, including the COVID-19 pandemic, really has changed the whole landscape of activities for our office and the institution.
Right.
And so it's still challenging today. We're still not 100% through it. I think we're making strides. We have still lessons to learn, still obstacles to overcome. But we're moving forward, and we're gaining traction, and so I'm very proud of the team. We've been able to keep the team intact,
Right.
even during all the different growth and organization changes, which I'm very proud of our managers, in order to motivate the staff and keep them here. And really, it's good for them because this is a great place to work. And very rarely do you still have a retirement plan such as TRS, the Defined Benefit Plan, in which folks can take advantage of and eventually retire from the Health Science Center, like a lot like my mother did, and I will retire.
Yeah, you have a whole long line of folks that have, and you'll be next in line at some point, I guess.
Yes.
And the other part too that I feel like, and you spoke about this a little bit, this big, huge growth that we're having. For me, it almost seems hard to keep up on the recruitment side too.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And so how do you, I know your office is huge, but how do y'all manage that piece?
It's been tough. I mean, we had one position which it took us 8 months to fill.
Yeah.
It's an agreements position.
Yeah.
And what we're learning is a lot of the California schools, a lot of the Massachusetts schools in Boston, other schools are hiring now totally remotely and taking people. And so it's not a local market anymore. It's a global
I
market.
agree. We're competing nationally for positions now, and they're 100% remote. The pay scale is a lot, different as well. So what do you look for whenever you're going to hire someone in OSP?
Well, it depends on the position. Every position in OSPs could be totally different. And so, like if you're agreements, you really don't want an accountant doing agreements.
Right.
They are too stuck on, black and white. They
Yeah.
don't know gray. They have a hard time making decisions in terms of substituting language. So it just varies depending on the position, really. But I'm looking for someone motivated, a self-starter, and someone that can critically think, which is, I think, very hard to find now compared to what it was 20 years ago.
Independently critical thinking
Yes.
skills. Yeah, definitely. It's not what it once was. I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure it's always been a struggle, but yeah, I notice it more and more now. What advice would you give any other UT Health employee who's interested in pursuing career advancement here at university?
Well, there's lots of advancement, more advancement now than ever before. There's just so much going on and so much activities. I mean, we are really moving in such a forward and high direction. I give those people that feel like they're stuck, their opportunity will come. I mean, you just have to be patient. I think I look back to former people that before I worked here, sometimes they would be stuck in a position 6 years before they would have an opportunity to advancement. Now it's a lot lower than that. And so if they feel stuck, just give it time. Things will open up and there will be opportunities. There really will.
Perfect. And what is your best time management tip?
Oh, to try to stay on track doing one task as opposed to trying to do 5 tasks at one time. That's very hard to do, especially when we're trying to multitask. But to try to stay focused and finish that task, I still struggle with that every day, especially when you have messenger, people messaging you, people calling you, people emailing you, people coming into your office. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. One task at a time is very difficult. And it got worse after COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
Because everything's virtual. So now
Yeah.
I'm like, let me get on a meeting. Let me check this. But yeah, one task at a time. What advice would you give the younger Chris Green?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. I would say to basically go for it more. I think I was a little conservative in some areas. I don't think it hindered me, but I think, it's so easy to say now to go for it. It's like, well, now you try to ask every girl out in high school, that you wanted to ask. But, it's always easy to look.
Oh, we're going way younger, Chris. Okay, we're going all the way.
It's
to
just
high school.
easier to look back and give advice. But I think just a bit more aggressive, possibly. I'm not sure what it would have done. It might have, I don't know if it would have been beneficial or not. But I think just maybe a little bit more aggressive.
Okay. And if you were not the assistant vice president of sponsored programs, what would you be doing right now? Dream job.
Oh, I think I'd like to be like a detective,
Really?
police detective or
Like
something.
a PI or like a...
Just a detective, working cases. I think that'd be very fascinating. I think it'd be really interesting. It'd be stressful, but what isn't really nowadays?
That's true.
So something like that, I think.
I thought you were going to say professional
Or
dirt biker.
maybe
but
something in a staffer in Congress.
working on the legislative process.
Yeah, or just be a staffer for a congressional person in the Senate or the House.
Okay, those are cool. I like those. And now we're moving on to our rapid fire set.
Okay, go ahead.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite food?
Hamburgers.
Ooh, favorite movie?
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's a good one. Dream vacation?
Either Hawaii or maybe London.
Okay. Those are two very opposite, by the way, but okay.
Yes.
Dream car?
Dodge Viper.
A Dodge Viper. And my favorite, if you could be any kitchen appliance, what would you be?
A measuring cup.
A measuring cup.
Yes.
Okay, Chris,
Yes.
that is the first that I get a measuring cup. But
Well, it's detailed. You got to be detailed, precise.
and it has a lot of different variations
It
as well.
does.
I mean, it's not like it's, ounces, cups, teaspoons. I mean, there's a
It's
whole-
very useful.
very useful tool. It's a necessity, definitely in the kitchen. I appreciate that. And where's your favorite place to get a hamburger?
Well, around here, I like to go to Babes.
Oh, Babes is the best.
It's real close, and it's to me, it's reasonable. I like Burger Boy. also if I'm
I
going.
like Texas Hamburger.
Really?
You like that one?
It's okay. You know, I used to go there a lot. I haven't been over there lately. But yeah, Texas Hamburger Company's good.
You
Yeah.
can't go wrong with a good hamburger, though.
That's right.
That's true. Tried and true. Chris, thank you so much for being on our leadership podcast today.
My pleasure.
It was an honor to have you here. And I look for, years more of getting to harass you all the time on any pre or post award questions we have.
Anytime, just give me a holler.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for taking time to listen to today's podcast, brought to you by the Staff Advisory Council in partnership with Marketing and Communications. Find us on My UT Health and submit ideas for future episodes. I'm Celeste Rodriguez, and remember, the only one that can reach their full potential and create a better tomorrow is you. Thank you so much for listening.